Good evening, everyone. Time for another stream of Apollo Justice. So we're continuing on to the fourth case. Last time, here, go ahead and load things up here. So last time, what all happened last time? Let's see. It seems like the defendant Vera might be the one who's actually doing the art, maybe? We still don't know exactly what happened with Drew, although I guess there was a letter involved. Lots of weird stuff happened. Still don't know what's up with these rough sketches. Huh. A lot happened, let's just put it that way. Okay, so where exactly did this leave us, Apollo? Well, Drew Misham, who was killed, wasn't Drew Misham the forger, basically. Right, so, well then, who was he? Well, he was actually doing her nails. So, he really made those forgeries. Yes, for father. So he was kind of the face, and she did the actual artistry. I know it was wrong. Could you tell us how it happened? My father was a painter. I loved painting ever since I was a child. One day, father saw it in me. He saw that I had the talent. Talent for making forgeries? How should I say it? It was not only paintings I made. Given the materials, I could make anything. Anything? Father was so proud, and I so happy. But in the end, I was making those forgeries. Never had a good constitution, nor personality. I know very little of the world outside my door. Now, because of me, father is... Do you know about this red envelope? I remember that envelope. It was some time ago. So you were already creating your works back then. I started when I was only 12 years old. So the one who figured out the stamp was poisoned, that was... Mr. Justice, it's time. To the courtroom, please. Right, out of time. Wait, Vera, just one more thing, please. Those 3 paintings in the studio. I painted those as part of my work. Right, see, we checked them out and we saw what was underneath. We saw the rough sketches underneath the 3 finished paintings. I see. Mr. Justice. Yes? Father, he knew of you. Of both of you. Your late father? He was watching, gathering information. All about the Wright & Co. law offices. But lately, we're not doing just law. Yes, you do tricks, gags to amuse, and play piano. Well, they're not really gags. Yet when father heard you had resumed the legal business, how pleased he was. Who was Mr. Misham? Yeah, that's really weird. How am I supposed to know? If he was Daddy's daddy, judging from the relative ages involved, I'd say it's highly unlikely. Things are already confusing enough with all these daddies. Interesting phrasing there, Apollo, but sure. I know that the victim's daughter, Vera, was the forger. What does this mean for the case? Guess we're about to find out. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it changes that much. Although... I didn't get an answer to this question. one who figured out the stamp was poisoned, because I thought maybe it was just like it might have just been a coincidence. And she didn't say it wasn't. Court's now back in session. Vera seems pretty tense. She's practically chewing her fingernails clean off. Perhaps you could begin by telling us how it all worked. How did you set up this Drew Misham forger persona? There's that stare again. She's drilling more holes into his head. I know it's hard for you, but hey, he's a handsome guy. What's hard? Very well, miss, if you would. Did you really make those detestable forgeries? Perhaps you'd rather answer my question. Were you the one who painted that painting, the remarkably similar one? Ah, yes. I painted it, yes. Father praised me quite highly for it. So, she was the one who made the forgeries, yet she did not wish to reveal the truth of their operation. So the victim was a stand-in, a decoy. To the world at large, he was the forger, not her. I've done a bad thing. I have, haven't I? Regardless, we need a little more information. About, for instance, this. You have seen this before, yeah? Yes, it was in the desk drawer. Very well, you may proceed with your testimony. Tell us everything you know about this envelope. Created things and Father sold them. This envelope came after my first work. That was other than a painting. Father handled the deal, all of it. I received the stamp that was in that envelope. It was after that job that we moved to the current studio. Okay. Certainly was much of great interest in your testimony. Not that the witness realizes it. Very well. Please begin the cross-examination. Right. Okay. Need more information about this forger, this Drew Misham. These things you were making are, you mean paintings identical to other paintings, right? The closer they were, the happier Father was. I was happy too. Still, you're quite young now. When did you begin this work? My first painting sold when I was 12. Your Honor, she had no idea what she was doing was illegal. Easy there, little attorney. You're not here to defend her for the crime of forgery. True. Please, tell us more about this envelope. This envelope that may very well have killed your father. Alright. This envelope came after my first work. That was other than a painting. Other than a painting, you mean you'd only done paintings up to that point? Yes. But Father had a realization. He noticed my talent extended to making things other than paintings. For instance, a letter someone had written, or a fingerprint left upon a cup. Huh. Or a signature on a document, a seal upon a letter. This makes her sound very innocent at all. And the $100,000 promised in this letter was the start. The beginning of a new industry for Drew Misham. A new industry? The creation of items to be used in criminal proceedings. Forging evidence, in other words. The deal, all of it. So you didn't know how the things you were making were being used. I enjoyed painting very much. I think I understand. The Fräulein has lived in an unusual little world. Can you tell us what happened to the papers that were in this envelope? Father signed them and sent them back, I believe. Did he follow the instructions? Send in the enclosed envelope with the enclosed stamp. This is a rather important matter. Give your answer some thought. The stamp that was in that envelope. What do you mean you received it? Did I do something wrong? You didn't use that stamp because it was dangerous, correct? Deadly poison on the back. A troconine. A moment, Hair Forehead. You can't force an answer upon the witness. Now then, perhaps you would tell me, Fräulein Vera, why did you receive this stamp? Something wrong? It was beautiful. Ah, you mean it was one of those commemorative stamps? Yes, I think it was. So, you didn't know about the poison? I guess not. Yeah, so it was literally just she really liked the stamp. So the trap failed by chance, by mistake, thanks to this commemorative stamp. Quite the close call. I mean, it didn't work until it did, by accident. You mean you moved to where the current Drew studio is? Yes, we saw very few people there. I began drawing picture books. A single job had tied them to the criminal underworld. I think Mr. Misham wished to reduce their visibility in the world at large, yeah. We had to meet someone for some reason. Father posed as the creator of the work. So that was the real essence of the artist, Drew Misham. You did the work and he supplied the face, yeah. So, you really didn't know anything, did you? You had no idea how much danger you were in. Apparently not. About this commemorative stamp, could you tell us more about it? It was very pretty, and more than that, yes? It was a picture of people I liked at the time. This is something new. Apparently, we've got some cross-examination yet ahead of us. If you would be so kind as to continue your testimony, Fräulein. Huh. The stamp was a picture of my favorite magicians, so I kept it. Huh. Magicians. I love mysterious things. I always have. Even though she fainted when she saw Mr. Hat. You're confusing mysterious with freaky. Father took me when I was very young. It was a great magic show. I loved it so much. See? Isn't magic great? Fine, great, yeah, sure. No need to get all excited. But the magic troupe we saw disbanded soon after. It was them. I was quite sad. She just say what I think she said. Magic troupe. Where have I heard that before? That envelope came after she completed her first job. That makes it a letter from her client, whoever wanted a forgery made. Apollo, we're close. We just have to piece together the parts. A deadly weapon and a red envelope. And the path it took to take Drew Misham's life. Created things, fathers. Okay, so maybe if we show her the... ticket? The magicians you liked. Was it this bunch? Uh-huh. In a bunch. I see. Still, I have to wonder, why include a commemorative stamp like that in a business letter? Good question. Well, pretty stamps are always better, and you can't beat true gramarye. But the whole murder plan was a failure because of it, right? Ironic, don't you think? Prosecutor Gavin? Prosecutor Gavin? Gramarye? What's with Gavin? Might I ask just one question of this witness? In your testimony just now, you stated this was your first work that was other than a painting. Please, tell me, what exactly did you make? Can I ask why? No. Answer the question. Now. What has happened to him? You're usually not the one whose volume concerns me. Yes, it is unbecoming of me. I apologize. But I must know. Please, Miss Misham, tell me. It was a book. A single page in a book. A book. Please be more specific. It was a handwritten book. Like a diary. No, I don't know. Okay, something's happened to Gavin. What's wrong with Prosecutor Gavin? He looks like he just saw a ghost. Ms. Misham, this book. Was there a picture of a silk hat on the back cover? Yes or no? How did you know? Prosecutor Gavin, the defendant is answering all of your questions. Stop badgering her. He's told you nothing, has he? Your soiled, sullied mentor. Nothing? Sullied who? Phoenix Wright. Who else? Daddy? He never told you about the trial 7 years ago. About how he came to lose his attorney's badge. It was a certain piece of evidence that decided his fate, you know. A certain diary. On the back, it bore the mark of a silk hat. What? Okay, so this is all tied together. Tossed out of the profession by false evidence, and the forger made that evidence. Is this girl standing in front of me? Farah, you must tell us. The evidence you made was used in the trial 7 years ago. Who asked Drew Misham, you, to forge that evidence? For all of our sakes, who was it? We only met once. You met the client? Well, who was it? It was... What's going on with Vera? She's staring at Prosecutor Gavin's face again. Yes, what? Is there something about me? I remember clearly. I remember who gave me the book, the diary. Who was it? Vera? The devil. Oh boy. Defendant Vera Misham, condition unconscious. Examiner's diagnosis, acute atroquinine poisoning? This ends the recording of the trial for the murder of Drew Misham. Vera Misham was, during the trial, poisoned by an unknown assailant. The dosage was just under the lethal amount, sparing the defendant's life. She is currently in intensive care and is not to be disturbed for any reason. A very simple case, at first glance, until it finally begins to show its true colors. The long road to the truth takes us to the record of another trial. In some ways, that was the starting point of it all. And that is where we must go to find the whole truth. Oh boy. Showdown time. Well, this again. I lost. It's only a game of poker. A game I've played for a long time, and only lost twice. Who was the first? The man I killed, of course. Well, it seems I've found the partner I've been looking for all along. Over a game of cards? Why, yes, over a game of cards. That That was how we first met 7 years ago. Years earlier, Phoenix Wright's final trial. Oh boy. Phew, okay. It's been a long time since I felt like such a rookie. Gotta try and relax. Good morning, Mr. Enigmar. I'm sorry to have sprung this on you so suddenly. I received the files from your previous attorney only yesterday. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure I'm prepared. I understand I am asking the impossible of you. Yes, well, you haven't really told me what happened yet. All we did was play cards. And that was enough. Actually, it wasn't. Trust me. Ooh, morning, Daddy. I'm so glad you came. You okay, Daddy? They picking on you? I'm fine, as always. This old boy here is here to help me, after all. That's young man to you. Good morning. That's a cute outfit you have on. Thanks, my first show's today, after all. Oh, I'm sure it is. What the heck is she talking about? Oh, old boy. Huh? Me? Look what he started. Here. Seems fate's clock will make me wait a little longer, at least only less than 10 minutes remain. So supported me in my life's work, I give thanks farewell. What's this? I don't know. I just got it over there in the hall. They told me to give it to the old boy in the blue suit with the spiky hair. They said it was really important. What's this? A memo for you or some such? Not from the looks of it. What is this? It's like a page from someone's diary. I'll give it a read later. Well, how do you feel about the trial today? Also, Bonnie found the hospital room shot in the head. Ooh. Well, that doesn't seem suspicious at all. Death, single gunshot in the head, estimated time of death 11 to 11:30. Oh boy. Shady, innate shady. In this case, usually goes by a stage name Zach Gramery, of course. Victim in this case died after being shot in the head while in the hospital. How do you feel about the trial today? We'll get through it, somehow. Incidentally, the prosecutor today is a new guy, I hear. An easy win then, yes? They're calling him a true thoroughbred in the history of the prosecutor's office. Of course, there's one of those every year. The switching of attorneys just before the trial. I know it is a difficult situation I put you in, but allow me to say one thing, Mr. Wright. Yes? They will not be able to pronounce me guilty today. So, do your best, but do not worry. First time a defendant's ever given me a pep speech. I'll do what I can. I see you do not understand. You see, it will be impossible for them to declare a verdict. Impossible? Yes. Isn't that right, Trucy? Yep, you bet, Daddy. The first look at the case was only yesterday, and the information I was given was a tad bit lacking, to be honest. Still, I'll do what I can, for their sake. I believe the curtains will be lifting any time now. I am in your capable hands, Mr. Wright. The client is Shady Enigmar? I guess that's how you pronounce it. What is Zach Gramery? A wildly popular magician, star of True Gramery. His mentor, Magnifi Gramery, was a rare breed of magician. He single-handedly ushered in the golden age of stage magic, until he was shot dead, and Zach Gramery is the suspect. Court is now in session for the trial of Shady Enigmar. Defense is ready, Your Honor. Is the prosecution ready? I was just thinking, is this what all the fuss is about? Bit of a buzzkill, really. Buzzkill? Is this some new kind of crime? One of the worst. This is a trial, yeah? Where are the sweaty palms, the pounding hearts? A Gaviner's concert's got 10 times the thrill this gig's got. Who were you again? Clavier Gavin. I came to get the party started. Legally, yeah? Gavin? Defense attorney Christoph Gavin's... Ah, figures my bro is more famous in this part of town. Clavier Gavin. Lead singer for the mega hit band The Gaviners. You're out of your league, rock boy. Uh-oh. You know what you're thinking. You're out of your league, rock boy. True, my debut single, 13 Years Hard Time for Love, went platinum overnight. But that's just a hobby to me compared to this, yeah? Talkative, aren't you? I like your affected Euro rock accent, by the way. I'm just getting warmed up. Herr Attorney Wright. Perhaps you would be so kind as to fill us in on the case. Tongue baby. Time to call in the opening act. What was his name again? Ah, yes. Detective Gumshoe! Hey, buddy. You are. Hey, you were the one who called me up here, sir. Name's Dick Gumshoe. I'm a homicide detective down at the precinct. Detective Gumshoe. Long time no see. Hey, you. Huh? Me? Today's the day, pal. Today I win and you lose. I get confidence in my testimony today, see? What, you normally lack confidence in your testimony? Here, detective, this is my stage. Can the antics. Huh? All this hey-youing and such. And I could care less about your history together. Very well, Detective Gumshoe, if you would. Please tell us about the case at hand. Happened 6 days back in a room at the General Hospital. Facts are as simple as they come. Here's the crime scene. The victim was a patient, asleep in a hospital bed. The killer comes in, puts a pistol to his forehead, and bam, lights out. Them's the facts. Not so long ago, the victim, Magnifique Gramarye, was a famous man. He had the entire country under his magical spell, as it were. Ah yes, the great magician. He retired years ago, though. Say the name Magnifique to one of my generation, you'd be lucky to get a blank stare. Yes, though I'm sure the youngsters today know his disciples even better. I dare say Troop Gramarye's made quite a name for themselves. Anyhow, the retired Magnifique's been in the hospital for the last year. What was it? Malignant tumor or something? Malignant tumor. Doing something to his liver, I think. Yeah. A malignant tumor, perhaps? In other words, he had liver cancer. He had only 3 months left to live, in fact. Facts do seem simple enough, but something's not right. The victim was already climbing a 3-month stairway to heaven. Why not wait for him to knock, knock, knock on heaven's door? Why shoot him? I wouldn't have put it quite so lyrically, but it's true. Why make the effort to come and murder when the victim was about to die? Incidentally, the victim had a serious case of diabetes. Diabetes? In fact, he was about to shoot up with insulin when he was shot with a pistol. The syringe was found at the crime scene. Chronic diabetes and cancer. As much as it pains me to say it, the victim was clearly at the end of his life. Has been washed and shows no sign of use. Okay. I believe the question before us is clear then. Why did the killer have to shoot this dying man? What reason could he have had? Very well, detective. Perhaps you can enlighten us as to the circumstances of the shooting. Yes, sir. Actually, the victim kind of ordered the defendant to do him in. A few days before it happened, the victim sent a letter ordering his own murder. The defendant did what was asked of him and shot the old man in the forehead. The bullet was fired from the pistol found at the scene, no doubt about it. And the pistol definitely belonged to the old man, sir. What? You're saying the victim ordered his own shooting? Those are the facts. I have here the letter in question. Beloved student Zach, to you I entrust the task of lowering my life's curtain. Very unusual indeed. Hold on a second. I didn't get to finish reading that. Come on the 13th, 11:05 p.m. A ready gun with which you will shoot one shot square in the forehead. You cannot refuse, and we both know the reason why. Huh. Although, could such a thing as a letter really cause one to pull a trigger, I wonder? I believe the answer to that question can be found at the end of the letter. Cannot refuse, and we both know the reason why. Detective Gumshoe, can you explain this to the court? Fortunately, even the defendant won't say a peep about that bit, sir. One thing bothers me about this. Why didn't he just say 11? Why have him come at 11:05 without some specific reason? The devil is in the details, Herr Attorney. Well, was there some reason? As it turns out, there was. Every night, for a half hour, starting at 11, the victim, Magnifi Grammary, was given an IV. An IV. There it is in the picture. Off to the side of the bed. At 11, a doctor would come to set up the IV. 30 minutes later, he would come back for the empty bag. This happened every night without fail. So that was the only time they could meet without the chance of an untimely interruption. During his IV. Very well, shall we begin? Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, if you would. It's this reason he couldn't refuse, I wonder. He could have at least mentioned it to me. Just because he got the letter doesn't mean he went through with it. Oh, I disagree. The victim was, indeed, shot in the forehead after all, just as he had commanded. Could be a setup. But let's not be in such a hurry. Maybe we should let the witness talk for a change. Thanks, pal. Fine. I can play it slow as well as I can play it fast. On with the testimony, Detective Gumshoe. And this letter was sent by the victim. There it is. Gotcha. You're all mine this time, pal. Huh? I had the handwriting checked out, of course. It's the victim's, no mistake. Huh, I see. Ha ha ha. Score one for the boys. I didn't lose, I was just ascertaining the facts. So why am I so annoyed? But a letter ordering your own death? Things aren't what they used to be, I guess. I'm not sure this is exactly commonplace even now, Your Honor. So anyway, guess I'll keep going while I'm ahead. How can you be so sure? Hey, you gotta learn to stop relying on people to do your thinking for you, pal. Learn to think for yourself. Get that noggin cranking. Fail to grasp the concept of questioning, detective. First, we got this letter. It says, shoot in the forehead, loud and clear. I can see that, but I still wouldn't do it. Well, maybe you need to grow yourself a backbone, pal. Fail to grasp the concept of shooting people is bad, detective. I also found the defendant's pistol at the scene. Traces of gunpowder residue shows that it had been fired recently. Well, Mr. Wright? As far as I can tell from looking at this photo, there seems to be no issue with the prosecution's claim. I mean, there are two problems. Well, there's at least one problem in that we don't have any evidence that he was the one who pulled the trigger. So they're saying the defendant shot the victim in the forehead. I think there's a hole in the prosecution's argument. Clearly, Mr. Nickmar... I mean... There is also the fact that it looks like something else has been shot in the head at the crime scene here. Looking at this photo, another possibility occurs to me. What does the letter tell us? The defendant had a reason he couldn't refuse his teacher's wishes. Bingo, pal. That's why the defendant popped him one in the forehead. Oh, the defense disagrees. You see, the defendant had another choice he could make. What, and you can prove that with this photo? I can prove he had a choice, yes. The defendant might have fired like he was ordered, but he didn't shoot the victim's forehead. Well, let's hear what you're thinking, Mr. Wright. I mean, to shoot the victim's forehead, there's only one other thing that's been shot in this photo. Clown doll. Take a closer look. See? It's been shot in the forehead, too. Huh. There's a hole in its forehead. Yes, and a hole in the prosecution's claim. Ha, and I suppose you have a reason as to why he'd shoot the clown doll. He didn't just shoot the doll, he shot the doll's forehead. His forehead. Ah. Let's read the orders once more, shall we? You will shoot one shot square in the forehead. Which is exactly what he did. He shot the clown doll square in the forehead. I mean, we still don't know that he was even the one who pulled the trigger because, you know, are there even any fingerprints? Oh, the clown's forehead definitely looks like he was shot. Bailiff, send someone to investigate this matter. I admit I'm impressed, but I expected nothing less. Still, this doesn't mean he didn't shoot the victim. Perhaps he did have to shoot a forehead as ordered, but the letter says nothing about whose forehead. This was the only way he had to follow his orders without taking a life. The bullet hole in the clown doll's head does demand explanation. Also, usually this is where we would look at the gun and see how many times it had been fired, because, I mean, if he was also shot in the forehead, then he presumably was fired twice, and if it wasn't shot twice, that means there's potentially another gun somewhere. Might very well be a clue, yet Prosecutor Gavin is right. It alone does not prove the defendant's innocence. You cannot say for sure the defendant didn't shoot the victim. So sorry, Mr. Wright. How sad it is to see the mighty fall. How sad it is to see the novice's overconfidence. He doesn't realize just how big this little hole is going to get. Detective Gumshoe, please take this newfound fact into account as you continue your testimony. So what if he shot the clown? He still shot the victim, pal. You mean this pistol, the one in the crime scene photo? That's the one. It's a funny-looking gun, so there's no mistaking it. Compare the bullet taken from the victim's skull with the bullet fired from this gun. The rifling marks on the bullets were a perfect match. Okay, so he was definitely shot with this gun. I bet we did. Why are you so certain? Ah, Sans, your head been stuck in all this time, pal. You never heard of Zack and Valent's quick draw shoot 'em? What's that? One of the defendant's specialties. Zack and Valent stand on either side of a girl, then they shoot, but the bullets don't hit her. Instead, they hit everything else on stage. This was one of the pistols they used in their So you're saying there are two pistols, and it looks like the gun has... two guns have been fired. Got a great design, huh? The kids love it. You boys and girls join the police because of that pistol, I hear. You know, that would explain a lot about the police force. Troop Grammary stopped doing that act a while ago. The old man held on to that pistol ever since. The court would like to see the pistol in question. You got it, sir. Here she is. Well, this truly is a blast from the past. It's a stage pistol for magic shows, see? They can fire real bullets. Looks so much bigger than real life than on TV. Yeah, but it can only hold one round. Yeah, it can only hold one round. So if two shots have been fired, then either that one had to have a lot of time spent reloading it, or there was a second pistol being used. By the way, the pistol's firing chamber is empty, and it shows traces of having been fired recently. It shows traces of having been fired twice recently. Any fingerprints found the gun? Yeah, that's another question. Unfortunately, no. Well, if they wore gloves, so Yeah. We might say that a lack of fingerprints is, in fact, a fingerprint of its own. I mean... sort of, but that could be anyone who wears gloves. Intriguing point, well made. Whoa, 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 not well made, not intriguing. In any case, the court accepts this evidence. My grandchild would get a kick out of seeing this, but now it's time to return to our testimony. So let me get this straight. You're saying my client first shot the clown, then shot the victim. Hey, not bad summary, pal. More of a confirmation than a summary, but whatever. That was really more of a confirmation than, yeah. But our defense attorney seems pleased enough with himself. These people ever miss a chance to mock me? Well, now that Mr. Wright's gotten out of his system, shall we continue with the testimony? I didn't have time to gather all the details before coming in here. The testimony might be my only source of information. Better pay attention and read this letter carefully. It might have been the clown's forehead he shot. Okay, so he practiced first on the doll, then shot him. He practiced in the middle of the hospital? Anyone could have come in at any moment. Yeah, but no one did come, did they, pal? Besides, it's what I would have done. Always look before you shoot, I say. Might I suggest we move on? This is getting us nowhere. Patience, we'll get there sooner than you think. This pistol on the crime scene photo. It's the one. It's flaming guns, there's no mistaking it. Okay, this is the same as before. Ready gun with which... Oh! It couldn't have been fired twice. Because he prepared the pistol and he only put one bullet in it. That statement. What? What do you mean you don't see anything contradictory? What? But... He readied the gun. Maybe it's the gun? Okay, it's the gun. This case is often seen the simplest. Prosecutor Gavin, you missed the bullet hole in the clown's forehead. If you hadn't missed that, you might have come to a very different conclusion. Understand? Yeah, but like I just said, pal, after he shot the clown in the forehead, he went in... Nothing of the sort to the victim. The pistol proves he could not. Murder weapon? How? It's quite simple, Your Honor. This pistol only holds one bullet at a time. If he had shot the clown in the forehead, he couldn't have shot the victim, too. That's not a contradiction, not even close. All I had to do was reload the pistol after the first shot. Oh, where did he get the extra bullet? They're not so easy to come by, you know. You claim the defendant had one ready, then prove to us how he got it. I had a feeling this wasn't over yet. No, this party's just getting started. I haven't proven anything yet beyond my good looks and startling record sales. An utter lack of humility. What's this? It seems the prosecution has another witness prepared. Like I said, Herr Detective was just the warm-up act. Ugh. Now that the audience has gotten a taste of what's to come, they're ready. Ready for what? My decisive witness, of course. A witness who, you will find, can prove one thing for us. that it was Zach Gramery who shot the victim in the forehead. Very well. We will pause for a 15-minute recess. This might be my lucky break. I'll need that 15 minutes to talk to my client, Zach. Court is adjourned. Well, these are going by at a fairly fast clip. Very impressive, Mr. Wright. I have to say, I expected nothing less. We've only just begun. I was hoping you could tell me a bit more about what happened, actually. I did not think you would believe me if I told you. Better that you discovered the truth for yourself. I was thinking of you, you know. I think we need less thinking and more talking. That night in the hospital, what really happened? Ah, the way your eyes gleam, Mr. Wright. You'll scare Trucy. Speaking of which, where is she? You've seen the problem yourself, the letter. The one shot in the forehead. One, right? Yes, and the reason he speaks of. I could not deny my mentor's wishes, even if it meant my own death. Why not? This is something I will not say, for now at least. What's this for now business? I've done many things in my life, some well, some poorly. But this is a cross we must bear alone to our graves. Me? You wanted to know about the night of the incident. Finally, this guy sure likes to take his time getting the important stuff. Of course, I had no intention of shooting my mentor. I snuck into his room that night at the appointed time. And found there upon his bedside table there were two pistols. Unfortunately, this makes things much worse for us now. Because he also had the other pistol. But, that's not what the note said. Already a gun with which you will shoot one shot square in the forehead. Two? Yes, the one I had used on stage, and the one that had been used by my partner, Valant. Oh, for the Zack and Valant's quick draw thing. My mentor had the look of one sleeping. I stood by his bedside, hearing only the light sound of his breathing. Then I took the pistol into my hand. I could not die, or resolve faltered then, for a moment. You faltered? You mean you thought about shooting him? Recall there was a reason I could not refuse his request. His last such request, though not his first. So there were other requests you couldn't refuse before. To be honest, I've not always been steadfast, and I fear I've brought pain upon Trucy. Is Magnifique coercing his disciples somehow? This is what was going on in True Gramarye. Yet, in the end, I did not shoot him. Instead, I turned and shot the clown. I took the pistol I'd fired and placed it in my pocket. Your pocket? I believe if you examine the bullet in the clown's head, you will find it to be different than the one in my mentor. What were those called? Rifling marks. Yes. Well, that is all I have to tell you, concerning the case. Concerning the case? You mean there's something else you can tell me? You are a fascinating man, Mr. Wright. Thanks? Yes, there is something. My mentor, his eyes opened. What? Magnifique Gramarye. The old devil, he was not asleep, you see. Of course, the gunshot would have woken him anyway. And there we had our last discussion as mentor and pupil. It was not a long discussion, maybe 5-10 minutes or so. What did you talk about? Mr. Wright, did I not just tell you? It does not concern this case. That Gramarye seems pretty steadfast to me, or maybe just stubborn. Mr. Wright, your presence is requested in the courtroom. Once again, I am in your hands. Right, let's get back in there. Court is now back in session. During our recess, a bullet was found in and dug out from the clown's head. Well, this is news. And the rifling marks. There wasn't time to do a detailed analysis. though they did find the weapon type matches the murder weapon. Well, that's not very conclusive, is it? Which is why I'm about to call my very decisive witness. Decisive witness? How many times have I heard those words? Though they often turn out to be far less decisive than you think. Oh, don't worry on my account. I'm quite confident this witness will do the job. After all, he is intimately acquainted with the players in our little production, being the other half of True Gramarye's famous duo, Zack and Valant. I like Gramarye, so we get to meet the great Magnifie's other disciple. Perhaps we'll start by asking your name and occupation. Valant Gramarye, magician. And you're the decisive witness, are you? You can prove your fellow student your partner's guilt? Fate, the grand illusion filled with traps and tricks. Wait, the shooting took place in that hospital after 11 o'clock at night. If you're a witness, does that mean you were there that late? If one were to deduce this logically, the conclusion is yes. Okay. I always get the characters, don't I? I have an interesting fact for you. You see, several days before the crime, my witness received this. That looks very familiar. Wait. Valant, to you entrust the task of lowering my life's curtain. On the 13th, 11:20 p.m., I will ready a gun with which you will shoot one shot square in the forehead. You cannot refuse, and we both know the reason why. That's the same letter Zack Gramarye received. Well, not quite. Yes, or perhaps I should say, ta-da. Order, order, order. And what does it say? Surely not the same thing. Perhaps you should see for yourself. Yeah, it's almost the same. Court accepts this in evidence. This is most unusual. Exactly what was going on with you folks? What exactly was your True Gramarye up to? By which you mean, I'm just having trouble envisioning a man who would ask his students to kill him. Both of them, no less. It's just my opinion, Herr Judge, but from these letters, I'd say he was coercing them, not asking them. We walked the magician's path together, and in so doing, shared much of our lives. When people are so close, there is strain, a warping of relations, you might say. Yet this has nothing to do with the case at hand. By which you mean you're not going to tell us. Which makes me wonder even more about this reason they couldn't refuse. Well, let's get on with the testimony for starters. The defendant, Zack Gramarye, who stands accused, tell us why. Oh, I'll do more than that. For where he walks, the red roses rise singing hymns to the miracle that is... Okay. Fascinating, though I hardly need to remind you that the evidence could just as clearly point to you as the suspect. The letter, the murder weapon, and now the 2 bullets found at the scene. In fact, the only difference seems to be the designated time. As every magician knows, timing is everything. Yes, and now it's time to get this party fired up. That night, I visited the hospital room at the time Magnifie requested. The smell of gunpowder hung in the room, and my mentor had taken his final bow. I had not imagined my fellow student might have received the same instructions. Yet a deal with the dead is still a deal. Death's sweet kiss I gave to the clown. Then I informed the doctor and the police. So you were the one who reported the crime. Indeed, I would think this fact alone would clear my name of suspicion. Let's not jump to any conclusions. Yes, the cross-examination generally comes before the conclusions in this court. But if your testimony proves to be true, then the defendant, Zack Gramarye, is guilty. And if it wasn't Zack Gramarye, then the killer was you, Valant. And no disappearing act will get you out of that. Which, according to the letter, was 11:20 p.m. Indeed. Magic timing is everything. Right. Consider the illusion of teleportation. If I were to appear on stage before my stunt double was left, how would that look? Why, it would reveal the very secrets of my magic. Now that you've revealed the very secrets of your magic for all of us, let's move on. You went at the designated time, and what did you see? So, you weren't worried for your own safety at all. I mean, you smelled gunpowder, yes? What if the shooter was still nearby? I did not consider this, to be honest. It's forbidden for a magician to have a good imagination. Really? Isn't magic all about illusions and imagination? How about this? You were the shooter, which is why you weren't afraid. Now you are the one imagining. It's forbidden for a lawyer to have a good imagination. Witness will refrain from pausing so suspiciously before responding. My forbidden imagination is starting to imagine things. I did not imagine my fellow student might have received the same instructions. Which brings us back to this reason neither of you could refuse. So it does, and my partner, he did not refuse. But Magnifi wrote the same thing to you. Why could you refuse if Zack couldn't? Because I have a will of steel, of course. I also do this trick where I bend steel bars, so perhaps steel isn't also strong. So which is it? Mind if I continue? Yet a deal with the dead is still a deal. Death's sweet kiss I gave to the clown. There are 2 bullet holes at the scene, one in the victim and one in the clown. You're saying the one who shot the clown was you? No doubt my partner has said much the same thing. Yeah, because whoever didn't shoot the clown committed murder. Better dig around here a bit more and see what I turn up. Mr. Valent, let me ask you about something else concerning the crime scene, namely... Where exactly was the pistol when you entered the room? Atop a small bedside table it was. As if to say, here I am, take me into your hand, pull my trigger, shoot him. You clearly wanted to be shot, but why? Perhaps he wanted to go out with a bang? Yet we will never hear the truth from his lips, so all we can do is guess. Is the location of the pistol all that important? Not yet. Actually, let me ask you about something else. Very well, the witness may continue with the testimony. What can I do but obey? Inform the doctor and the police. So you informed the police. What did you do then? What do you suppose I did? Use my magic to levitate my mentor's corpse, perhaps? I don't know, that's why I'm asking. Now please answer the question and skip the sarcasm. After I made my report, I called the doctor and we returned to the room. While we waited for the police to arrive, we discussed stomach medicine. We've confirmed this with the doctor. It all checks out. He praised Mr. Valent's knowledge of stomach medicine, in fact. It is an honor I do not deserve, but I accept. Magnifi's students received the same letter. Both admit to having gone to the hospital that night. 2 bullets were fired, and one of them killed Magnifi. Time to find the cracks in his testimony. I shoot a pistol. You need a bullet. Where was the bullet? I entered the room and took the pistol in my hand. The bullet was already loaded, ready to fire at any time. The magician is always prepared, you see. Prepared for... One never knows when a miracle will be called for. A magician always has 7 doves in his pocket and a white rabbit up each sleeve. Clearly, we're dealing with professionals here. I don't think so. I thought the clown was you. Okay. Fires 1 real bullet, barrel marks match bullet found in victim, no fingerprints found. If this was the one found on the crime scene, barrel marks match bullet found in victim. So if this was the one that he fired, then he's the one who killed him. How many pistols were there when you entered the room? By which you mean what, precisely? 2 pistols were used in the Zack and Valent quick-draw shoot-up, correct? 1 for each of you. You were well informed, yet only one of my old friends sat in the hospital room that night. Did Zack tell me back in the lobby? Of course, I had no intention of shooting my mentor. I snuck into his room that night at the appointed time, and found there upon his bedside table 2 pistols. I took the pistol I fired and placed it in my pocket. I see no problem with that statement. The 1 pistol is visible in the photograph of the crime scene, after all. So you picked up that pistol and fired it. Indeed I did. Alakazam, alakazing, alakaboom. Is the number of pistols really so important? Actually, I think it might be more important that the bullet was loaded, because the barrel marks match the bullet found in the victim. So if it was already loaded, this could kind of go one of 2 ways. It could go that because there was only 1 and he picked it up and shot it, or it could be because the gun was already loaded and he shot it. But this one does specifically say that he picked it up and shot it, so I'm kind of thinking that maybe it's this one. What can I do but obey? Took the only pistol there and fired it. That's correct. And that pistol was this one, which was left at the crime scene. Good show, I see. Yup. Yeah, he just, you're an idiot of sorts. Do you have any idea what you just said? I see the fire in your eyes as you glare at the witness, so how about heating up this trial a bit? These slow ballots bore me. I've got a hunch, but maybe that's all it is. Maybe I should ask you about something else. No need. Second thought, let's run with this testimony for a while longer. According to the defendant, Zach Gramery, when he entered the room, there were 2 pistols on the table. 2. One of those pistols he used to shoot the clown in the forehead. Then he left with it in his pocket. Of course, this is what he would say. Unlike the hapless clown, we must assume our defendant has some brains in his head. Well, what about what Mr. Valent has told us? You see, there's something about his testimony that doesn't make sense. What might that be? I told you, I took the pistol that was there and shot the clown. That's your story, at least. But the rifling marks tell a very different story, Mr. Valent. Recall what Prosecutor Gavin told us. We compared the bullet taken from the victim's skull with a bullet fired from this gun. The rifling marks on the bullet were a perfect match. Mr. Valent, if you fired this pistol, then you shot the victim in the forehead. Order, order, order. Well, this is all rather sudden. What have I done? Prosecutor Gavin? I owe the court an apology. Sorry. Sorry for what? You see, I was unaware that 2 of these unique pistols were crafted. The analysis of the rifling marks only proved the type of gun that fired them. But that's not what you told us before. You said you'd verified the murder weapon. Which is why I'm apologizing to you now, quite sincerely I might add. Would you hold me accountable for a mistake made in my youth? That was just this morning. I am still young, and I might add, it wasn't really my fault. If the defendant had only admitted he took 1 pistol from the scene of the crime, we would not be having this pleasant discussion now. Valent Gramery. Yes, Your Honor. You were presented to this court as a decisive witness, but you've proven to be more divisive than decisive.
Objection!
You'll see, in time. The testimony so far has merely been a review of the facts. The proof comes next. I mean, okay, so we know that 2 pistols were fired, and we know that... I mean, it seems like all we have to do is just match the marks on... compare the 2 pistols. I mean, Zach said he clearly has one. You don't even need his. You just take the gun that we definitely have, compare their rifling, do a more thorough comparison of the 2 bullets, and you basically, I mean, maybe Zach did do it, but you'll know which one is which. I mean, Doesn't seem like you need any more testimony. Mr. Valent entered the hospital room. The victim had already been shot. As his next testimony will prove, Herr Wright, the real fight is about to begin. Very well. Witness will now testify in the court. Help us determine who shot what. Yeah, I mean... I arrived in the hospital room at the appointed time, which is to say 11:20 p.m. After discovering the body, I fulfilled my obligation, then called in the doctor. The doctor examined the body before the police arrived. He was quite clear about the time of death, 11:10 p.m. And the one in the room at that time was my partner, not me. Those times are rather close, you have to admit. We're talking about an alibi established over a matter of minutes. To use a 10-minute discrepancy as the basis of your alibi is easy to explain in this situation, Herr Judge. For example, take our debut hit single, 13 Years Hard Time for Love. Cue to the song, press the play button, and it will play for 2 minutes, 15 seconds. Do it 100 times, the result is the same. Their debut single was only 2 minutes and 15 seconds long? What a ripoff. Magic is a world of utmost precision. Hocus pocus requires admirable focus. And in the time of death determined by the doctor, there is an incontrovertible truth. Very well. Prosecution warns us that we're dealing with rather precise times. Okay, so... if the doctor said this, why does the autopsy report say 11 to 11:30? Like... seems like they couldn't just put that in the autopsy report. I expect the cross-examination to require the same level of precision. I would hope the defense refrains from its customarily broad, sweeping accusations, lest we blur the focus this case so clearly demands. Point taken. Baseless remarks will result in a penalty. Really? Carry on, Mr. Wright. Carry on, Wright. Arrived in the hospital room at the appointed time, which is to say 11:20 p.m. 11:20 p.m. Can you prove that's when you arrived? Alas, such a feat may be... Yeah, that's also true. How do we know that he actually arrived at 11:20? If he was shot at 11:10, the first guy could have popped in at 11:05, shot the clown, left. He could have shown up 5 minutes later. There's no one in that room but Magnifi, and he was departed after a fashion. I have here defendant Zach Gramery's sworn deposition. I snuck into his room that night at the appointed time. It was 10 minutes before I left. Okay. The victim was still alive. The time indicated by this letter to Zach was 11:05. Okay. Exactly. Which means the witness could not have entered that room before 11:15, because his partner was still in the middle of his crime. You see, someone did their arithmetic homework. You see, the defendant himself has corroborated the witness's testimony. Does that all make sense? I mean... shots. I guess maybe if he was giving himself the insulin shots. No way I could do that. Wait, if we use this to inject his insulin, why are there no traces of it having been used? Something to keep in mind. There's no traces of it having been used. Problem with that testimony. If you say so, let's continue, shall we? The most magical thing of all is the truth. Walk in on a murder, and the first thing you do is shoot the clown? The disciple does what the disciple must, which was request, without reason, had caused for me a surfeit of sorrow. For what would I, Valent, be now without him? May the soul of Magnifi the Great find greater peace above. This I muttered to myself as I pulled that lonely trigger. In any case, I believe this is nothing more than what we have already learned. I'm still waiting for one of those right moments, Herr Attorney. I remind you that baseless remarks warrant penalties. See with that in mind. Yes, Your Honor. What a pain this is turning out to be. The doctor examined the body before the police arrived. Did the doctor say anything concerning the cause of death? Why, yes. I believe he screamed, "My God, he's been shot in the head." It doesn't take a doctor to notice that. Probably would have screamed the same thing. I would have penned the requiem that arose in my soul at that horrid sight. Never happened a good old-fashioned investigation. In any case, I believe this is nothing more than what we have already learned. I'm still waiting for one of those right moments, Herr Attorney. Why do the baseless remarks warrant penalties? Proceed with that in mind. Quite clear about the time of death, 11:10 p.m. I don't think I'm stepping out on a limb to say I have some doubts about this. How could the doctor be so precise with the time? They usually only get an estimated time of death, true. I'm not sure I've heard of a verified time of death. Magic revels in making the complex appear simple, but reality is the opposite. What appears complex in this case is a simple matter of subtraction. I see another person has done their arithmetic homework. The point here is the IV the victim was taking. It's quite visible in the photograph of the scene. Recall what we heard earlier about the victim Magnifi schedule. Every night at 11, Magnifi took an IV drip for 30 minutes. You can see the IV bag right there, yes. Now look a little closer. Follow the tube down from the bag to the end. Yeah, it's currently not in him. The needle's been removed. Doubtlessly it fell out when he was... I mean... that's an assumption. It seemed to be the case. When the needle comes out, the IV no longer drips. You could just measure the remaining IV liquid. Precisely. IV liquid functions for our purposes as an hourglass of sorts. This is how the doctor determined the time of death. In the amount remaining in the bag, it was determined that IV had stopped 10 minutes after administration began. Administration began. Wait, but if he got there at 11:20 and he shot the clown and then called the doctor, unless the doctor was literally right outside, which he couldn't have been, or he would have, heard the gunshots. So he had to go get a doctor. The doctor had to come in and evaluate the guy. That had to take at least a few minutes. So who's to say that... See, something's wonky here. Oh, wait, it's 10 minutes since... Never mind. I was thinking it was 10 minutes since... It was 10 minutes ago, so never mind. This is 11:10. I had to room. 10 minutes had passed since that horrible crime was committed. I mean... And this is proof. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Never mind. I mean, this seems important. Seeing how it is the biggest clue we have to the time of death, I'd say it's very important. Agreed. It would be hard to imagine a more precise way to determine the time. Power of arithmetic. Very well. Witness will add this detail to his testimony. Most magical thing of all. It's truth. The one in the room at the time was my partner, not me. You entered that hospital room at 11:20 p.m. The time given by the defendant, Zach Gramery, was 11:05 p.m. You didn't run into him at the hospital that night. This is why I never perform with amateurs, you see. Huh? Picture, if you will, the nighttime hospital. Outside, only the pale light of the moon. If two dressed as we were to meet in such circumstances, I dare say that would ruin the mood. Okay. The mood isn't in question here. I believe the witness is saying they didn't meet, yeah? What is magic, if not the study of beauty? This meeting was not only out of the question, it was an impossibility. What is magic, if not the study of how to make absolutely no sense at all? That said, was there a contradiction in there? Is there a contradiction in there? I mean, I guess not. If he came at 11:05 and he left at 11:15, he came at 11:20. It's a 5-minute window. Stop 10 minutes after administration began. I guess not. If you say so, let's continue, shall we? Never a matter of minutes. Precise is right. Pressing with impunity will earn me a nice penalty, too. Focus on one thing, this time of death. Just say 11:20 p.m. Washed and shows no sign of use. Okay, this had a clue on it at one point. Now I can't seem to get it to show up anymore. Ah, there we go. This ain't any shots. Wait. If use this to inject his insulin, why are there no traces of it having been used? So this was washed. Shows no sign of use. only thing I can think of is that, like, the assumption is that this came out because he was shot. But that's just an assumption. He could have also just... Because Zach claims that after he shot the clown, the guy woke up and talked to him. And it could have come out there. Also, if he shot the guy, it would have been at 11:05 and not 11:20, unless he, like, they want to claim that he, like, waffled on doing it for 5 minutes. Like, this doesn't look like it, like, if it fallen out, okay, if it came loose from him being shot, it would still be, like, right next to it. It wouldn't have, like... This looks like he pulled it out and set it beside himself.
Objection!
Oh, that's not it. Yourself by any chance? When first I entered that room, the stench of gunpowder assailed me, next the mark of death upon my mentor's forehead, and then his left arm did I spy rose, drooping and wilted. Its thorn, the discarded IV needle, knocked from the vein by the force of the shot, luckily for you. If that IV had not been there, why, you might be a suspect. Indubitably so. I might say it's thanks to my lucky color. Your lucky color? Indeed, even today I wear it proudly upon my suspect self, for it always, without fail, brings me luck. Why, when Zack and Valent won their first Magician's Grand Prix, yes, the very one held by the Association of International Magicians, was adorned in this attire then too, and our trophy a bust. What a day that was. This is one trip down memory lane no one needs. My lucky color, yes indeed, and that IV too. I say, I think 'twas hewed especially for me, Valent. That does seem to be the case, indeed. Oh, Mr. Wright, any thoughts on this testimony? He sure looks happy with himself. Okay, how about this lucky color testimony? I mean, there's gotta be something here. Certainly sounds like your lucky colors brought you plenty of luck. But not this time. Mr. Valent, your lucky colors betrayed you. I'm afraid you've lost me. Your Honor, the witness's testimony just now clearly contradicts the evidence. What? Please recall my warning at the beginning of this cross-examination, Mr. Wright. Baseless accusations will be duly penalized. Do hope this latest accusation is well-based. Don't worry, I've got all your bases right here. To defend this claim, where is your evidence that contradicts what Mr. Valent has told us? I mean, there's also no red spot on his arm, so... Because they said it was in his arm, right? And it doesn't seem like his arm is bleeding. So that's gotta be it, right? Crime scene tells all, Your Honor. Photo of the crime scene. All this talk of color has me yearning for black and white, clear-cut simplicity. Tell us, Herr Wright, just where is the contradiction in this photo? My pleasure, and I assure you, it's quite simple. But I can't promise anything in black and white. Let's hear what Mr. Wright has to say. When this photo contradicts the witness's testimony. I mean, it's gotta be the arm, right? Because there's no... Like, he said it was like, oh, he was bleeding everywhere from where the thing came out, but he doesn't appear to be bleeding anywhere. Contrary to Mr. Wright's promises, this seems pretty black and white to me. Agreed. How's that? You're wrong. That black and white enough for you? Thank you, sir. May I have another? That's lucky color is the color of his clothes, right? What contradicts that? Let's hear what Mr. Wright has to say. Okay, so I'm on the right track here. I mean, is it the fluid? His lucky color? Grammary, let's get one thing straight about your lucky color. It's yellow, yes? Kind of takes the mystery out of it, but yes. Something wrong with yellow, Mr. Wright? There is. Decisively wrong, in fact. Take another look at the photo of the crime scene. Is that not yellow? What's this? Confusion? Doubt? Tell us what do your elderly eyes spy? My elderly eyes can see a problem here, Mr. Valent. That IV bag. It's not yellow, is it? What is this? What foul magic? It'd be hard to call the IV liquid yellow. I mean, I guess that's supposed to be green? I kind of have a problem with those kinds of... Anyways, I'm afraid no magic was involved in the taking of this photograph. No! Order. What does this mean? This is some kind of mistake. Yes, Prosecutor Gavin? Witness's mistake. The greener they are, the harder they fall. I suppose there's no substitute for experience. Like Grammary, as you reminded us several times, your lucky color is yellow, but the IV is clearly not. Well, this contradiction can mean only one thing. And to think, you almost had me. I see your true colors now, Ace Attorney Phoenix Wright. Something you'd like to tell us, Prosecutor Gavin? As far as this court can tell, the witness's testimony does contradict the evidence. Yes, a contradiction. One that I should be pleased to hand right back to Mr. Wright. How do you mean? How? Because the witness has made no mistakes. I agree, at a glance, the IV liquid does appear as sort of greenish yellow. But I assure you, the liquid itself is quite yellow. Yellow liquid? How can you say that? As far as I can tell from this photo, it's green. Yes, but what color is the IV bag itself? The bag? You mean the plastic bag on the hook? It looks like a, I want to say light blue? Precisely, figured it out yet? Put a yellow liquid in a blue bag and you get green. This, incidentally, is the liquid's true color. Okay, but how did he know that? Your explanation does have the ring of truth to it. As I thought, there's no substitute for experience, Prosecutor Gavin. What? You may tell a good tale, but you've just proven something rather grave, for you that is. Grave? The liquid in the IV is yellow, yes. But how did this witness know that? Yeah. It's quite unnatural when you think about it. You did think about it, didn't you? Fair. Your Honor, the defense requests an explanation from the witness. At the scene of the crime, the IV liquid appears to be green. So let me ask, how did the witness know the IV liquid was actually yellow? Yeah, because if it wasn't coming out anymore, then he wouldn't have seen any of it. Mr. Wright, you will explain this at once. The witness clearly knew the color of the IV liquid, so I'm sure it means something, but what? I can think of only one possibility, Your Honor. The witness, Valent Grammary, has testified the IV is liquid yellow because yellow, he'd seen it before, he knew the IV liquid's color. He knew the IV liquid's color. From the facts before us, the answer is clear. The witness knew that the IV liquid was yellow. Why? Because he'd seen it before, but not inside the blue bag we see in the photo. He saw the liquid by itself in a clear, colorless bag. Suppose he would have had to, but I'm still not clear as to what all this means. Ask yourself, why would he know if he didn't work at a hospital? That's where you'll find your meaning, Your Honor. I'm afraid I find nothing, so what if he knew the IV liquid's color? He'd be getting excited over absolutely nothing to our teeny bopper fans, yeah? The IV liquid is the only evidence proving the time of death. A 30-minute hourglass with 20 minutes worth of sand remaining. Your claim, Prosecutor Gavin. I remember it well. However, there's a critical difference between an hourglass and an IV bag. Wait, I know. An hourglass uses sand, but an IV bag uses liquid. I'm right, right? As much as it pains me to say this, Your Honor, no. Unlike the sands through an hourglass, IV liquid enters the patient's body, at which point, like magic, it disappears. However, what if the amount of IV liquid had increased? You couldn't tell, could you? After all, there's no way of knowing how much went in. Let me get this straight here, right. You're saying the witness watered down the victim's IV bag? Not with water, but with IV liquid. That's how you knew the IV liquid was yellow. Now wait, I said wait. How might an amateur such as myself essay to perform such a task? I'm an amateur too, but I can pour water into a cup. I'm afraid there's quite a big difference between a cup and an IV bag, quite. Can you prove our witness is capable of such a feat? As a point, amateurs. I, at least, would have some difficulty pouring IV liquid in that bag. Ah, okay. I think I know. You'd be like to see the look on the witness's face. He added liquid to that IV to throw off the time of death. I tire of these fairy tales lacking evidence. Well, Mr. Wright, any solid evidence to bring us back down to earth? Found like gramarye. I'm afraid your magic won't serve you well in a life of crime. Might I ask what you're strongly suggesting? Magic relies on props, and props become evidence. Our witness was certainly able to increase the amount of liquid in the bag. All he had to do was work a little magic, and the prop was this. So that's why it was clean. It's the perfect prop for the magically increasing IV trick, and easy enough for an amateur to use. What kind of evidence is that? The syringe was clean, not a trace of liquid in it. And don't you find that odd, Prosecutor Gavin? What? The victim had the syringe to administer his insulin shots. There should have been traces of insulin left inside. Well, Valiant Gramarye, as you pointed out yourself, the IV liquid makes the perfect clock, one that you could manipulate at will. I do believe, well, with this being his first, that the burden of this trial has been a bit too much to bear for Prosecutor Gavin. I'm afraid that, while there is doubt as to the amount of IV liquid in that bag, time of death cannot be proven. And that brings our trial to a close for today. Well, maybe I can squeeze an extra day out of this. and do a little much-needed investigation work. I see there are no objections. Court is... Truly, there's no substitute for experience. Nothing blinds one to the truth so effectively. A word to the wise, underestimate the young and they'll sweep your feet out from under you. In a way you never, ever expected. You see, I know exactly what you're thinking. What's he talking about? You say the witness used the syringe to manipulate the level of the IV liquid, but there's no proof. There's no proof he didn't do it either. Yes, quite true. Huh? He's admitting it? Nor was this witness quite as decisive as I'd hoped. This, I admit. After all, why linger in the past when the future holds so much? You have something in mind, Prosecutor Gavin? Proof, Herr Judge. I have another way to prove my case. With evidence, no less. Yeah. Yeah, it's Yeah, so this is hey Torius. You can't prove a negative anyway, exactly. So this is basically the case from 7 years. This is going back to the past. So this is basically how all this stuff got started. So we're going back to a previous case that's supposed to reveal some interesting things about. Hey, glad to see Muffin here as well. Yeah, so the idea is we're going back to see what happened in this case several years ago that involved. Yeah. So as you can see, this was this is exactly 7 years ago. So it turns out that this was I think they said it was Clavier's first case, and we've seen this guy before. And we've also seen, actually we've seen most of these people before. So we were trying to figure out which one of them basically shot the guy who was in charge, and it was basically coming down to, okay, well, one of them shot the basically one of them shot the clown and one of them shot the guy because this guy had sent requests to both of them at different times. So they each had a pistol, and like we were trying to figure out which is which, and as we've just shown, it looks like he was able to, the Valent, who was the second guy to come in, was able to manipulate the time. So it seems like this is still up in the air, because I mean it could have been, the thing that Phoenix is proposing, or it could have been that Zack shot him, and this is just, speculation. But apparently Clavier has additional evidence, with evidence no less. What's this? This is the victim Magnifi Gramarie's diary. Diary? After going into the hospital, Magnifi began writing his memoirs, it seems. The story of his birth, his startling debut, and of meeting his disciples. It seems he intended for the last chapter to end, quite appropriately, with his death. Wait, that book doesn't say what the reason was, does it? The reason why his disciples couldn't refuse his last request? Sadly, it does not. What's important here is on the last page. Apparently, the victim wrote in his journal that night, even after the IV had begun at 11 p.m. Let's read it, shall we? Night's IV is in, maybe the last. I leave the rest to them. The first should come soon. This journal may end here or it may go on, but not long. That depends on his hand. All that is left to mine is to lay down this pen. It's just been written just before his death. The court accepts this in evidence. At the court record. Read the very last part with particular care. This journal may end here or may go on, but not long. That depends on his hand. Of course. Yes, there is a torn page by his. He refers to our defendant, Zachary. I mean, So, yeah, here's the thing about that. You see this right here? Mysterious paper received just before the trial. In fact, I'm gonna bring it up so you can look at it. So this was a piece of paper that was handed to Phoenix literally right before he actually was apparently taking over for someone else in this trial, and he hadn't even had time to talk to the defendant before it started. And Trucy, the girl here, showed up and handed him this page and said someone said he should have this. So it just sort of showed up. And, yeah. Include, no. She is Phoenix's daughter. Something that you would find out in a later case is that no, you're not confusing her with someone else. That is the girl you have seen previously. This page, the diary ends here. What's this? It looks like a page is ripped out. Well, now isn't that interesting? Yeah. Yeah, you're not confusing her with someone else. Although, if this guy looks familiar, I'm pretty sure you've seen him before. I think you were there for that case. This information should prove enlightening. Mm-hmm. Yep. And he's also the defendant in this case. Goes by the name Zach Gramery. And as you can see from here, so if you were wondering why that guy had a locket with a photo of Phoenix's daughter, quote-unquote, in it, that might explain something for you. I think you can piece that part together. First door defendant, Zach Gramery. Now, see, here's the thing about this. Nice ideas and maybe the last. I leave the rest to them. The first should come soon. The journal may end here or may go on, but not long. That depends on his hand. All that is left to mine is to lay down this pen. I don't know why Phoenix said she's his daughter in the other episode, but this says yes. So I mean, I can go. This will be a bit of a spoiler from other cases that you may not have seen, but it seems that something happens to this guy, and well, we don't know what yet, but considering that he went out of the country for a while and Trucy didn't, it seems that Phoenix has had to take up some adoption for several years. That would make sense, yes. He was the first scheduled visitor, after all. But look at what he said before that. The trail may end here, or it may go on. It may go on. Magnifi Gramery intended to write again. That is, if Zach Gramery didn't pull the trigger. I see the defense understands the meaning of this. The victim's diary does not go on, it ends. Because Magnifi's life was brought to an end by the defendant, Zach Gramery. Order, order, order. Prosecutor Gavin, are you certain that Magnifi Grammary wrote this? There's no mistaking his handwriting. Well, this does seem to be significant. According to this, Magnifi did intend you to continue his diary. Yet, if his diary ended here, which plainly... Okay. Plainly it did. Judge. Even if you didn't know where it was, it's pretty clear that a page has been torn out. Like... Come on, man. The one who pulled the trigger was the first visitor. St. Grammary. Well, how do you like me now, Herr Wright? Still too green for your tastes, hmm? He's right about the diary being pretty clear. Still, I find it hard to believe that you'd overlook such an obvious problem with this precious evidence. Well, Mr. Wright, the witness's testimony we heard was lacking, but put together with this evidence, it seems quite sufficient for a case. If the diary is accepted like this, the trial's over. Maybe it's time for me to show them something. Yeah. So here's the thing. I could show them this page, but I really don't need to, because the book should tell me. The book, just looking at the book, you can tell that a page has been ripped out. I don't like anything about this situation. The judge is already getting twitchy with his gavel, so I better show them something quick, or else I'm left with no choice but to show my own evidence. You have some evidence that overturns this. Yeah, unfortunately, you kind of don't get a choice for this one because this already happened. It's not too late to rethink this and avoid more embarrassment. Very well, please show us your evidence, Mr. Wright. Incidentally, don't even think of showing us this diary I've just shown the court. Now that we've come this far, I hope you have something a little more decisive. Show us evidence that proves the victim continued writing his diary. Alright, I'd be happy to. The decisive evidence proving the diary didn't end with this page is... this is where knowing what happened previously in this case, or not knowing it, is, becomes highly suspicious. I'm gonna try this anyway. This evidence, you're saying this is decisive. Yeah. We don't need proof that he might have continued his diary. We need proof that he did continue that diary. If such a thing exists, of course. Time to get cozy with the court record. I know I've got the evidence in here somewhere. Very well. Please show us your evidence, Mr. Wright. Instantly. Yeah. I mean, I really don't want to, because I know what's going to happen. I don't remember that much, but I have pieced enough together that I know what's going to happen when I present this. Because you may have recalled that Phoenix Wright is not a lawyer anymore. Well, it doesn't, but, there's a bigger problem here, in that the case previous to this isn't the beginning of the fourth case. The previous stream or so, yeah. Yeah. And I'm just gonna do it. Close look at this diary. Yeah, Delphine is here and wants some attention. Page has clearly been ripped out. What's this? Hadn't noticed it at all. That's why we're still here talking about this. It just so happens, I have here what I believe to be the missing page. Alka, I don't believe it. Looking at this page, it's hard to imagine that the first visitor that night shot Magnifi-Gramarye. That's the defense's position. Wait, let me see that. When Sam Hill? Why, this is the continuation of the victim's diary. Note the torn edge of the page. It's a perfect match with the torn remains of the last page in Magnifi's diary. Quite remarkable. Would you care to explain what all this means, Herr Attorney? Diary continued after his first visitor came, which means that the victim was still alive after Zach Gramarye left, leaving no one to take his life but the second visitor. Valid Gramarye. Handwriting, too, matches that on the other pages. This is, without a doubt, the genuine article. About that... Order. But wait, that's impossible. That old man couldn't have written that.
Objection!
Finally. You just couldn't resist, could you, Herr Wright? Is this what? Presenting solid evidence? Herr Judge? Yes, Prosecutor Gavin. But I request we put the current cross-examination on hold. Prosecution would like to call a new witness. But, Prosecutor Gavin, this evidence overturns the current witnesses. I ask only to put it on hold. Please, my new witness has a very, very important piece of testimony to give. 5 minutes, no more. I promise, Your Honor. Well, if you put it that way, Mr. Wright, what's your take on this? Well, Your Honor, judging from his enthusiasm, we'll have to hear this new testimony sooner or later anyway. So might as well be sooner. Then, though this is highly, highly irregular, we will put the current cross-examination on hold. The witness may step down. Now, Prosecutor Gavin, please bring this surprise witness to the courtroom. I had a bad feeling just then. That ripped-out page was too obvious. Waiting for Phoenix to produce that page for whatever this testimony will be. Yup. He must have known. And I should have known it was a bad sign all around. Hey, look! I recognize that hairdo. So, if you'd seen the previous parts, the previous stream and the previous parts of tonight's stream, you know that the current case, holding a trial with no audience, is a first even for me, Prosecutor Gavin. I beg the court's understanding. I had to make a judiciary deal with the witness to secure his testimony. Yeah, so, funny thing, the beginning of this case was a completely different trial involving the death of this guy. A judiciary deal? The details of his testimony may have some legal ramifications, so shall we say. I thought it best to contain the information to this room. Very well, and you are the witness, I gather. Yes, sir. State your name and occupation for the record. My name's Drew Misham. I'm a painter. A painter? And you are somehow related to this case? No, well, not per se. I have one simple question for this witness. Mr. Misham, was it? Do you know what this is? Strange background noise? Do you know what it was? Might have been cars or something. I do have a window open. Maybe I should close it. Here, give me a second. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, I just had to take care of something. You know what this is? Oh, yeah. I know it well. Thanks. Hey. Come here. How's that possible? Have you seen this diary page somewhere before? Oh yeah. I mean, I made it. You... what? You made it? Yes. You might call it one of my works. The prosecutor's office received a tip-off yesterday. Illegal evidence has been prepared for the trial of Zach Gramery. Illegal evidence? I initiated an investigation and found this witness. A painter to the world at large, Drew Misham has another side, you might say. He is skilled in making perfect reproductions of certain things. Forgeries, in other words. Forgeries? Well, so we are to understand that this page here is a fake, prepared by a certain defense attorney.
Objection!
Hold it. I didn't prepare this evidence.
Objection!
Ah, the attorney speaks. Something about this page, I presume. But what is he saying? It makes no sense. After all, it was you who presented this evidence to us, Phoenix, right? Witness, or Mr. Misham, was it? Who requested this forgery? Who was your client? That... I don't know. What? Most of my clients prefer to remain anonymous, even to me. I make the items they want and receive my payment. That's the extent of my contact with them.
Objection!
But there's no proof this is a fake. It's a fake. Huh? To avoid just this sort of problem, I always put a special mark on my works. I can say, without a doubt, this is mine. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back again. And no, he did not. Yeah, Phoenix definitely screwed up in this case. Because he was just like, oh yeah, this thing I just got handed, I'm sure this is legitimate. Just right. A second, I got one hand on a cat here, trying to keep her from going crazy. You have just presented illegal evidence to this court. My court. It was careless of me. That's all I can say. Good boy. Here. What What's this? I don't know. I just got it over there in the hall. They told me to give it to the old boy in the blue suit with the spiky hair. They said it was really important. It's all a trap. A fatal trap. Mr. Wright? Yes. Do you have an explanation for yourself? If I did, would the court hear it? Probably not. Forging evidence is a serious crime, and presenting it in court a serious mistake. A fatal mistake for an attorney. Well, he didn't have the diary at the time. Like, he didn't know that like the diary was going to be presented as evidence. He was just like, oh, here's this page. Like, he didn't even know what it was for. It just, it's only in the court record because, gameplay mechanics. Fatal too, perhaps, for your client, I fear. Tell me, what kind of defendant relies on forged evidence? The answer is quite clear. A guilty one.
Objection!
Your Honor, wait. I understand that presenting forged evidence in court is a serious crime. You cannot hold my client responsible for actions I undertook as an individual. I'm sorry, Mr. Wright. Your Honor? Another close call, I dare say. The prosecutor's office hadn't received that hot tip. Everything would have gone the way you wanted it to, yeah? I even gave you a chance. Too bad you decided not to think before embarrassing yourself. I see no need for further discussion on this matter. Special witness dismissed. Mr. Attorney? Yes? Can I ask your name? Phoenix Wright. Mr. Wright. I've seen and studied many people, but none like you. I'll remember you, Mr. Wright. Yeah, I don't know. I deeply regret having to declare a verdict in this way. This trial is over. You have the right to find a new attorney and make an appeal. However, this court must... Your Honor. Yep. That was him. Yes, Mr. Zack. There is one thing I wish to make clear. Today, in this courtroom, you cannot declare me guilty. It is impossible. I am afraid the defendant is quite mistaken. I most certainly have the authority to declare a verdict on you. Except, tell me, how do you plan on announcing your verdict when your defendant does not exist? Doesn't exist? What are you talking about? I'm talking about this. Mr. Enigmar. The defendant's escaped. Find him. Quick. Bailiff, close all exits from the building. On the double, he must not be allowed to escape. That day, in that courtroom, a miracle occurred. The defendant, Shady Enigmar, aka Zack Gramarye, did not just escape from court. He literally, unbelievably vanished. Right before the bailiff's eyes. No one ever saw him again. Not since that day. This is the Gramarye miracle. No verdict was declared. After all, the defendant didn't exist. Yep, until he got murdered at a poker game 7 years later. Of course, he didn't have the same name then. I don't think anybody else has pieced it together that that's who that was. That's how it happened. The trial of the magician Zack Gramarye vanished, along with him, for all eternity. The mysteries that remained behind were all solved, however, but not until 7 years later. That trial 7 years ago was the beginning of it all. This I know beyond a doubt. The mysteries of the past work their magic on the present. But you'll soon be finding all of this out for yourself. Which of Magnifi Gramarye's disciples pulled that trigger? Where did the vanishing defendant, Zach Gramarye, go? What dark truth lurks behind the forged diary page? And what about the girl who was left behind? The past left us these 4 keys to unlocking the truth. That's not all. There are 4 keys in the present as well. When all the questions have found their answers, the final trial will begin. But first, you must chase the truth through then and now. Think of it as a game. I, Phoenix Wright, will be your guide through this game. That terrible trial saw me present forged evidence. It ended, half finished, when the defendant vanished. What became of me after that, as your investigation proceeds, the answer will become clear. Oh, and one more thing. There is something I must tell you. As Apollo Justice has his bracelet, so too do I have my own weapon of sorts. My Magatama. What does it do, you ask? That I would have you see for yourself. Well now, shall we begin? Use LNRB to jump between the past and present. But let's begin 7 years ago, in the past. It is right after my last trial came to an abrupt end. Now that you know the game, let's play. So, yeah, in case you are just stopping in and have no idea what's happening here, essentially this case was to be a the case that you haven't really seen much of yet if you came in just for the past flashback trial, is that it was to be the first of a trial for a jurist system, where instead of the judge doing all of the decisions, there's like a jury that looks at... Yeah, you were here for the poker game stream, which is kind of the important part, because that's the one that ties most... The other two don't really tie that much in to this as much. I mean, there's a little bit there, but yeah, primarily the current case was that guy, the Mr. Misham that you saw. He got killed, and basically the suspect was his daughter. And just to give you a quick run through, the two of them lived by themselves. They were basically very reclusive. As it turns out, his daughter is actually the one who's like incredibly capable of forgeries, and that was her first thing that wasn't a painting. They suspect that she did it. What they figured out was that there was poisoning that had happened, and that someone who requested someone who made a request to Mr. Misham was probably the one that did it, but they don't know the exact details of that. And oh man, there's a lot here. This might be something where it really will only make sense if you go back and watch at least the previous streams from the 4th case onward. I think that was part 9, parts 9 and 10. Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, that's probably something we'll find out in the present day, because it's probably going to come up. Yeah. Nightmare trial was over, and the new nightmare of figuring out what had happened had just begun. I wanted to wake up, to walk away, but I figured I'm the only one who could do this, probably. Besides, I had plenty of time. thanks to the Bar Association Review Board's decision. It's hard to work when your attorney's badge has been taken away. Yeah, pretty much. A strange sight doth mine eyes behold. Excuse me? Two men on either side of a single transparent pane. Yet it seems fickle fate has switched sides, so to speak. The forger of fakes waltz freely, while the innocent languishes within these plexiglass confines. There's been no proof that I forged anything, nor proof that I took the life of my dear mentor. Yet, these chains cannot hold me for long. The stage awaits. And what, may I ask, awaits you? A little piano and a cold little hole in the wall. But since you are here, what shall we discuss? The shooting of Magnifi Gramarye, for one. Who pulled that trigger, Valant or his partner, Zack? His partner vanished before the answer could be found. If I'm going to get any closer to the truth, this is the place to start. I have to hand it to my partner. He knows how to make an exit. That's talent. Yes, he made my attorney's badge disappear, and he never even touched it. Glory's spotlight always leaves someone weeping in the shadows. Yet his very disappearance is itself a revelation. Revealing what? Zack Gramarye killed Magnifi. It's as good as a signed confession. That's certainly been public opinion's take on it. I grow tired of my cage, and the time of my release is near. I must go and prepare. Planning on jumping back into the magic right away? As long as an audience waits with bated breath, there will be Valant, and also... Yes? Now that my partner has disappeared, Magnifi's repertoire is mine. Valant Gramarye has a tradition to uphold. Is that true? Seen in this light, the trial was quite good to me, verdict or no. And you can't pay for that kind of publicity. The suspicion on you hasn't lifted entirely, Valant. After all, you received one of those letters too. You were just as obligated to follow Magnifi's instructions as your partner. So I was, but only Zack Gramarye followed them. Let us not speak any more of who shot what. Now that my partner has vanished, the question is moot. I'm more interested in learning something else, actually. What might that be? I want to know what Magnifi had up his sleeve. How could he coerce you and your partner to kill him? The trick up his sleeve? Perhaps you do not know. Know what? The great magician never reveals his secrets. I didn't think it would be that easy. The audience must remain forever in the audience, bathing in the reflected glow of the spotlight. The Magatama, one of my most prized possessions which I got during a certain case. It can show me the locks on people's hearts. And if I can unlock their hearts, they'll tell me their secrets. Yeah, so this is actually from an entirely previous game mechanic. Magatama starts it all, and the Magatama ends it. I think I'd be back here for a while. I didn't want to have to remember that day. I deeply regret having declared verdict in this way. This trial is over. I came here on that fateful morning, I still had my badge, but now, like an amputated limb, I can still feel it itching. Where do I start? I don't even have the authority to investigate. Hey, you there, sir. Down on the hands, floor on your head, now, now, now! What's the big idea? My ears. No unauthorized personnel aren't allowed in here. That would mean all unauthorized personnel are allowed. Zoink? I just say it like it is, sir, and it's usually wrong. Thrown out of the precinct, lost my friends, my girl, and even my wallet. We've met before, haven't we? On a case, 2 years ago. No recollection of that, sir. Huh? For me, working on a case is always in the present progressive tense, sir. There is no past, there is only now, sir. Okay, you're the bailiff, right? Yes, sir. Court Bailiff Mike Meekins at your service, sir. I've asked to meet with the bailiff at this court who let the magician escape. Let me try to make this as absolutely clear as possible for you, sir. It was me, sir. Yeah, he's actually he's also from a previous game. So this is where everything from the previous games starts showing up again, apparently. But you were a regular police officer once, right? Sometimes bad things happen to good people, sir. Something tells me it's a long story. Let's not go there. So you were in charge of security at the time of the vanishing? I'm dying over here. Oh, it's a hard knock life, sir. Thrown out of the precinct, lost my friends, my girl, even my wallet. Guess I wasn't the only victim. Last time we met, you were a police officer, right? In fact, you're still wearing your uniform. Sir, I wish I didn't have to tell you this, but last year, a tragedy struck a rising star at the precinct. Lost my case files 4 times. In 3 days, they fired me. It takes real talent, actually. They don't know what they're missing. So here I am, sir, forced to start from square one, a lowly bailiff. But your uniform... I took it with me as a souvenir the day I was fired. That can't be legal. So, you were the one who let the magician get away that day. I'm dying over here. The star rises among the court bailiffs full of hope, then tragedy strikes. Is there anything you can tell me about it? About Zach Gramarie's disappearance? Oh, the humanity. That's enough of that. Why, yes, I'd say it was around 2 p.m. when I heard a commotion in court. Opened the door to see what might be amiss. The door slams open, slam, and some guy's face is right there in front of me. Face! So, you saw someone suspicious coming your way. Yes, and I, being a bailiff of little standing, I gave chase. I chased that silk cat all the way down the hall, sir. I have a diagram of the court building here. Nah. You know, it happens. Aha, there's courtroom number 7. That's where I was, sir. All by myself, nary a friend to call my own. Okay, and which way did Zach Gramarye run after bursting through the courtroom door? He went up like this and around the corner, like that. So I, with no delay, ran after him with no delay. When I turned the corner, I saw that magic man run into the defendant lobby. Swiftly I ran. Following him, I threw myself boldly into the room. Why, I remember it like it was right here, because it was lobby number 2, sir. We ran into this room. I don't see any place to hide in here. Believe it or not, sir, I didn't believe it. Here, in this room, the magician, gone, vanished like a puff of smoke. Except there wasn't even any smoke. He was just gone. That's impossible. Yes, that word. Oh, how many times have I said that word? Even the sound of it causes me indescribable pain. I'm dying over here. Okay, I won't say it again, promise. But you have to admit, it's difficult to vanish into thin air. Yeah, a little bit. Did you search the lobby? I searched. By the pause. There was nothing here at all, sir. That's right, nothing was here, sir. How can he talk so loud and still be hiding something? So Zach was in this room when he vanished. Absolutely, sir. I saw him with my own eyes. That red silk hat, that flowing cape. He ran right in here, right inside this room. Silk hat, cape, that's Zach all right. But, sir, look at the room.
There's not a single place to hide. Sir, there was nothing I could do, but nothing, sir. What about now? Have any ideas? Sir, ideas about what exactly, sir, if you don't mind me asking? I've had quite a bit of time since then. Has nothing occurred to you at all? Do you have any idea what trick he might have used to disappear like that? Cyclops, I should have known. I actually took a nap on that couch once when I was still practicing law. Boy, was that a mistake. Never even sit on the lobby sofas now. Never let my clients sit on them either. Bad luck. You know, I think this was the lobby I used for my very first case. Plant has seen me grow from a rookie to an ace to a has-been. I hate you, Plant. Just kidding. Must have seen that painting 1,000 times, but never really looked at it until now. I guess my head was too stuck in the trials. Never had time to stop and appreciate art. Have time now. Okay, let's appreciate. Actually, it's pretty lame. I guess this door was officially a prop in Zach Gramarie's last show. He passed through that lobby door and vanished, but to where? He choreographed that entire fateful trial according to his grand scenario. I hate magicians. None of this is... If you look at the past version of the lobby... Well, that was the past version of the lobby. Yeah, I don't know. I don't seem to have any present options currently. I think I have to go through these and figure some of this stuff out before I can look at the present. 2 weeks had passed since then. I called her into my office. Trucy, there's something we need to talk about. It's been 2 weeks since your father disappeared. We need to start thinking about your future. I did some calling around. This is hard to say, but you have no living relatives. So, I was wondering if you wanted to stay with me for a while. Just until your daddy comes home. It won't be long. I hope. Of course, it's totally your choice. If you don't like it here, you can go wherever you like. I could look up some places you might like to stay at. This is so weird. Mr. Attorney, Daddy told me about you. He said I could trust you. Huh? Really? So, if I stay here, does that mean you'll be my family? Huh? I guess so? Getting weirder. Mr. Attorney? Or actually, why don't you call me Nick? Or you can call me Daddy if you like. It doesn't have to be today or anything. Okay, say Daddy. That was quick. Yes? If I move here, I have to switch schools, right? And I was thinking, I haven't paid for lunches at my last school for a year. So thanks, Daddy. Oh, and this office? It's a little blah. Well, color goes a long way, you know? Oh, and Daddy, you got you fired from work, right? Don't you worry one bit. I'll work twice as hard. We'll make it through this. Trucy, how old are you? Oh, I'm 8. But don't let appearances deceive you. I'm a young professional. Stick with me and you'll do just fine, Daddy. Thanks. Why does it feel like she's already in charge? Daddy, you got fired from being a lawyer, right? You could at least kind of look aside or something when you say that. It's actually kind of hard for me, for Daddy. Oh, I'm sorry, Daddy. Wait, is that foolish pride? My other daddy always used to talk about that. Actually, that's pretty accurate. So here's my idea. We'll make a new office. Law just seems so stiff, doesn't it? And no one will be my friend at school that way. Well, that won't do, I guess. I just don't know much about anything other than law. Or even much about law if you were to ask some people. Maybe the problem is calling it an office. We should run an agency instead. You mean, like a talent agency? Forgive me for asking, but doesn't that require talent? You've got me, don't you? I'm a professional. A professional? Yep. After all, I am directly descended from the famous Zach Gramarye. Directly descended. He's your father. Oh, and now I'm directly descended from the famous Phoenix Wright, too. I think an 8-year-old just massaged my ego. Tell me a bit more about your daddy, or Zach Gramarye. Daddy? Sure thing, Daddy. Which daddy was that again? He's so amazing. The biggest star of Troop Gramarye, and they're big. The Gramaryes, they were on television a lot. Haven't seen them on much recently, come to think of it. Big magic happens when you put Zach and Valiant Gramarye together, you know? Once they made a giant waterfall, right there on the stage. This giant trout swam up the giant waterfall. Let me guess, there was a giant fisherman waiting for him at the top. I wish I could have seen more of Daddy's magic. I shouldn't have brought it up so soon. I wonder what'll happen to me with Daddy and Mommy both gone. Mommy? Yeah, what about Mommy? I haven't heard anything about Trucy's mother. I have my magic and a great daddy, even if he is unemployed. You know, I think things are gonna be okay. Wonder if she'll talk about her mother. So Trucy, you're a professional. Yes, it's like that thing they say. Baby frogs grow up to be frogs. They say that? I always thought it was funny, though. What was? Aren't baby frogs called tadpoles? Maybe they thought it would be easier to understand that way for kids. How stupid. Right, so in conclusion, you're a professional magician, Trucy? Yeah, tadpoles. Well, want to see a trick? You're going to do a magic trick? Yeah, sure. So I would like to see your trick. The future of the agency depends on it, after all. That's the spirit. Ready? Here goes. Ta-da! Hey folks, it's Mr. Hat. Gotta say it's good to be seen. Yarg! Whoa, that was startling. Amazing Mr. Hat, isn't he great? Your friendly neighborhood Mr. Hat at your service. He certainly makes an impression. Doesn't he? Ha ha ha! So glad you like him, Daddy. Though my routines do get a bit heady at times. Ha, get it? Heady? My friendly neighborhood Mr. Hat nearly gave me a heart attack. Amazing Mr. Hat added to the court record. You tell me about your mommy, if it's okay. Mommy was so pretty. She was like an angel up on stage. On stage? You mean with your daddy? Yep. She was always there with Zach and Valiant, smiling. But then she went away. Went away? It was a grand illusion, but she made a mistake. She vanished, and I guess she didn't know how to get back. Maybe so. I cried then, a lot. That's when Daddy gave me this, here. Yeah. This is your mother? She's beautiful. Her name's Thalassa Gramarye. Poor girl, I didn't know her mommy had gone missing. And now her daddy's vanished too, right before her eyes. Hey Daddy, you won't... Don't worry, I won't vanish, I promise. Right, you can't even do magic. You're like a backup plan. Daddy always said to have a backup plan. I guess all I rate as is a backup plan. I think that's probably enough for today. Sorry to ask you so much all at once like that. It's okay. After all, we're family. I just hope you're ready. The right talent agency opens tomorrow. What? But are we representing anyone? Me and you. That makes two, Daddy. I think you need more than that to make an agency. Besides, you may be a magician, but I'm no talent. Oh, I'm sure there's something you're good at. Well, when you put it that way. You mean you don't have any tricks? No old standbys? This will not do. A boy should always have a trick or two in his pocket. Okay, I'll think of something. That's the spirit. See you bright and early tomorrow, Daddy. Welcome to the team, Daddy-O. The team, right. Sometimes when magicians vanish, they leave something behind. That's how Trucy became Trucy Wright, my daughter. To be honest, I was pretty lost those first few days. Thinking back on it, it was a pretty dark time in my life. But Trucy, happy, smiling Trucy, she was my light. I wonder if that unlocks the... doesn't seem like it does. Alright. Yep. I figured you'd come here sooner or later. I decided on sooner. Your mission, was it? I haven't done anything illegal. And I didn't come here to whine about past events. I wanted to ask you some questions. I suppose you have that right. Yep. Have a good evening. That day, the entire court descended into chaos. Only you stood still, your eyes calmly watching. I admit, it made quite an impression on me. I'm used to finding myself in outrageous situations. Phoenix Wright, was it? I'll answer what I can. I'm not sure, but it feels like I'm being watched intensely. Ah, this is my daughter, Vera. Say hello. She's gone. Shall we begin, then? Judging from this place, you're a painter? Not, sadly, a profitable one. I've never sold a painting. It's a source of considerable embarrassment. I'd be able to get by were it only me. Your daughter? Her mother grew weary of me and left. I don't want her to grow up needy, Mr. Wright. That is why I began my other occupation. Forgeries. Don't look at me with those eyes. I know what it is that I do. More than half of the paintings they bring me are stolen, and who knows what my copies are used for. But some of your works aren't paintings, correct? You may not believe me when I tell you this, but that was my first work outside of painting. What? I think it would be used as evidence in a murder trial. I never even imagined the possibility. Then why did you take the job? I was well paid. Very well paid. I think he feels worse about it than I do. The past is hard to escape. Honestly, the sooner I can put this behind me, the better. With apologies to you, of course. Sorry, but it's not going to be quite so easy. He's trying to forget what he made. Looks like I'll have to remind him. Your work, don't try to pretend you've forgotten. Sure, all you did was make a copy, but that copy might have destroyed the life of an innocent man. I'm responsible too, which is why I have to know. And you have to tell me. I knew it would be difficult to escape this. Then, let's talk. Well then, ready to tell me about this work you did? It was unlike anything I'd attempted before. I guess it would be a little different from paintings. That is not what I mean. In all my previous work, it sufficed to create a copy. This wasn't a copy. The client gave me two things that day. The first was a sample page as reference. The second, a printed document I can only surmise was written by my client. So he used the real writing as a reference to reproduce what the client wrote. Yes, as I said, it was my first job of that nature. So, who was your client? As I said in court, I do not know. Yeah, she is getting very antsy because it's almost dinner time. And she can't go whine at my roommate, who's usually the one who does it, because he's closed off his room. So she's gonna come whine at me. Yes, I know. It's your dinner time very soon. Muffin wants you to know that she loves you. Yes, I know. You're just like, I don't care about that. I want dinner. I know. You want dinner. When? Really? Even for such a suspicious request? If it was me, I'd want to know as much as I could about the requester. I never met them, not personally. Cyclock, of course. Seems like you're still hiding something. Something about this work. Okay. Alright. What's this painting here? Ah, that's one of mine. It's an illustration for a book. It's not on sale yet, of course, but I thought it might be a good business. As a father, I'd like to be able to put food on my daughter's table. Not a feeling I know anything about, at least not yet. You will soon, Phoenix. Paints are scattered all around, probably the ones he's currently using. Something very artistic about a messy room. Not that this is anything compared to my office. I guess that would make my office a masterpiece. Maybe I'll just sidle on over here for a closer look. This is you and Vera? Yes, we took that one quite recently. I know, I'm a painter. Why not paint a portrait instead? I've never been that good at people, unfortunately. Right. Shouldn't you practice? It's an awfully small frame. What's that inside it? A stamp? Ah, please don't touch that. I'll get in trouble. That stamp belongs to Vera, you see. She always puts it somewhere she can see it. That's Zack and Valent, the Grammarys, isn't it? Post office issued that commemorative stamp last year. The Grammarys were at the height of their popularity. Not anymore. Now that one of them has vanished off the face of the earth. Vera went to see one of their shows when she was quite small. She's been a dedicated fan ever since. She watched them every time they came on TV, until the end. I see. The stamp's quite hard to come by, I hear. I still wonder how she got her hands on it. It's this red envelope. Don't touch that. It's quite important. The painter's face just changed hues. Guess I'd better behave, though it's tempting to just grab it. It's a pretty bottle. Don't touch that, please. I'll get in trouble. Belongs to Vera, you see. She always puts it somewhere she can see it. She looks at it often. It's a light pink fluid inside. Nail polish, I'm guessing. It's an awfully small frame. It's a commemorative stamp with the Grammarys inside. Paints and pigments are lined up on the shelves, with some noticeable gaps. It's embarrassing, but I can't afford all the paints I want. I insist on buying the ones I use with my own money. I see how you'd want to do that, sure. Perhaps you've heard that you can make any color, as long as you have the 3 primary colors. Well, it's a lie. Poor guy. Use these gizmos for painting? They're pretty elaborate. Ah, those aren't for painting. They're for analyzing. Paint composition, age, every conceivable angle. Tools of the forgery trade, I guess. There are some finished paintings stacked here. They don't look all that bad, really. I'll sell you one for 50 cents. That's okay, they look kind of heavy. Oh. Maybe he needs to work on his sales technique a bit. I don't know what that says. Let's hear it then. What are you hiding from me, Mr. Misham? I'm sorry, but I really don't know. I never met the client. True, when I asked the client's name, there were no Cyclops in sight. Regardless, you're hiding something. You have to be, otherwise it wouldn't make any sense. Why are you doing this to me? Well, I've made my stand, no backing down now. So what's Misham hiding? I must piece together what it is from what you said. What is it, then? You told me what you knew about the client, and I couldn't see any Cyclops. Psycholocks? Is that some sort of asylum security or a new hairstyle, perhaps? But then they did show up, didn't they? Who was your client? As I said in court, I do not know, really, even for such a suspicious request. If it was me, I'd want to know as much as I could about the requester. I never met them. Not personally, Not personally. Those words triggered the Psycholock. Again with the Psycholocks, now I really must know what they are. So you didn't meet with the client, but someone else did. Maybe the real forger behind this evidence. Perhaps I'm hung up on this lock business, but I'm afraid you've lost me. Yeah, well, I didn't come here to talk about Cyclops. As long as I come to the right conclusion, it doesn't matter how I got there. And your conclusion is... the real forger behind this wasn't you, Mr. Misham. Poppycock. I don't know what you're talking about. That's my work, I tell you. Made here in my studio. Who else could it have been but me? That's the real question, isn't it? If the forger wasn't you, then I don't have many other people to choose from. The real forger at Drew's studio is... Of course, this is something we already know, that we already know from playing previous parts of the game, but... go to bed, help you... Oh, you too! Take care. The real forger is your daughter, Vera Misham, isn't it? Ridiculous! My daughter's only 12 years old, Mr. Wright. I've always been more one for landscapes, not surrealism. Nice comeback, but you're shaking in your boots. I've got you now. The only 2 people with access to the studio are you and your daughter. Cyclops tell me you're not the forger, which makes your daughter the only possibility. I feel very much on the verge of going psycho-lock myself. I don't know how you knew, but you're right. The one who made this page was my daughter, Vera. She's only 12, a genius, you might call her. A precocious little girl outshining her father. There's been a lot of that going around recently. I let her play in the studio and she watched me. She taught herself in that way. The drafting tools and analytical devices I bought when they became necessary. They're my little girl's playthings now. Do I detect a bit of fatherly pride? So Vera was the one who made this page. Would she know who the client was then? Actually, the client came once. here, to this studio. What? Why didn't you say so sooner? Their face was covered, and they did not want to talk to me. So they talked to your daughter. One moment. Hey. I'm probably going to have to stop in a minute here. I will speak only with the artist, the client told me. Then that little girl is the key to our mystery clients to her identity. Okay, what do I do now? Maybe I should talk to her father a bit more. Or is it time to turn my attention to Vera? I'm gonna save it for later. I am going to call it a night though, because cats are getting antsy and I think I'm gonna have to deal with them. So, there we go. Alright, so this was definitely an interesting turn of events. I am going to wrap it up for tonight. I hope you enjoyed the stream, and we will probably see more of this tomorrow or sometime this weekend. I don't know exactly when, but I'm sure it'll happen soon. And yeah, definitely recommend going out and checking out the previous streams if you're just now catching things, but those will be available as videos. Okay. All right. I'm out for the night. You'll have a good evening, and I'll catch you later.